Hello everyone, my name is Masood, you can call me Dr. M, and today I'm going to give you an introduction about why we need to learn about presentation. So my title is The Art of Presentation, and I think I'm going to show you that presentation is a form of communication, and because communication is an integral part of our life, then learning to be a good presenter actually has the advantage of taking us through life with the ability to be a good communicator. Before I go further, let me show you a video which let me not give you an introduction first, and then I will talk about it after you have seen the video. So as you saw at the beginning of the video, the title is The History of Communication, and in a very simple animation you can see that the red ball that's going around, we can interpret that as knowledge or information. And from the beginning of the human history, we have been needing to communicate. We have had traces of communication in different forms and formats, such as drawing, language, technology nowadays, and so on. So with that, I think we can try to see and answer some questions about what is communication, and how does it happen, who uses it, when does it happen, why, and where. Let me bring your attention to another video about communication, and it's actually, communication is actually a science, and it's been taught in universities across the world. There are majors in communication.
What exactly is communication? The most simple definition is that communication is each act of transmitting information. Information in the broader sense of the word, including thoughts, ideas, and emotions. Giving someone a bouquet of flowers is communicating a certain message. Adding to that gift a verbal compliment, "you're pretty," is another separate act of communication. Blushing because you've just received flowers and a compliment is again another form of communication.
So communication is an act that happens in our everyday life and in many different forms, such as verbal and non-verbal, right? Seeing a bouquet or blushing is a non-verbal way of communicating. Saying the words "you are pretty" is a verbal communication. Saying thank you and in response is a way of communication.
As social animals, we communicate day in, day out with spoken words, non-verbal gestures, signs and symbols. Sometimes we use media to communicate a message. Media are the channels that we use to communicate. Scholars don't really agree on the definition of the word media. Television, internet, radio, mobile phones, the soapbox we stand on to give a speech, they're all technical media in a way, things we constructed to amplify our communication. In the more broader definition, we can include our hands, voice and eyes that we all use.
So to have a communication, we need to have certain elements. We need to have a sender of the information, and we need to have a receiver, because if there's a sender and nobody receives that information, it's like a teacher coming to the class, to the empty classroom and speaking. There is no communication there. The teacher is just talking. And once you have the sender and the receiver, then you need to have a message, just like the red ball that you saw going around. And if there's a message, then you need to have a medium or a tool to send this message. And like you saw in the video, the tools have changed from the ancient time until today. And nowadays we have what's called media, social media, TV, internet, and it used to be radio, but radio is not in pictures as much. Movies, advertisements, and things like that. You can also say that when I am talking to you right now, I'm using my words, my mouth, my ability to speak English as a tool to communicate with you. So for a communication to happen, those four has to work. You have to have a sender, you have to have a receiver, you have to have a message, and you have to have a medium that is in common between the sender and the receiver. Meaning, if I speak to you in a different language and you do not know that language, the communication does not happen. Even though I can speak, you can hear, but we have what's called miscommunication. So gestures are very cultural, and for example, we use the same hand, but because different cultures have different interpretation of gestures, then there could be miscommunication or misunderstanding, cultural miscommunication and cultural misunderstanding.
Used to communicate somehow in the list of communication channels of media. In general, however, whenever we discuss mediated communication or the mass media, we only mean the first category. Over the years, scientists from different scientific disciplines have studied these channels of communication and all these different forms that communication can take. The result of their studies have formed the basis of the relatively new science of communication. And even today, many scholars in other disciplines study the exact same communication phenomena as we do. We share theories and models and often use the same methods to analyze and describe our field. It is therefore useful to be aware of how these other disciplines are connected with ours. To get an idea of the different levels of communication and how they are connected to other scientific disciplines, we can look at the so-called pyramid of communication. On the highest level of this pyramid, we find societal communication, which is by its very nature aimed at a large mass audience.
So this pyramid of communication, and we will go through, start from, well, we could say start from the bottom or from top, but on the top part are different fractions of communication, smaller fractions, and the basis in here, the two levels in the bottom, is that in common for all of us, and it would be, as you get to it, you'll see that it will be the main topic or the main emphasis of a presentation class and a communication class as I am planning to teach you.
Therefore, mainly historians, political scientists and sociologists study this perspective. Under that is the level of institutional communication that is performed by political parties, for instance, organized religions like corporations and such. Then comes the level of group communication. Groups are audiences that feel a high level of group identification. For instance, a family or a fan club. Both institutional and group communication are in the field of sociology and cultural anthropology. We have now arrived to the level of interpersonal communication, basically the communication between two or more people. Both sociologists and psychologists study this field.
So this is the level, interpersonal communication, right? And the next level, as you will see, is called...
Finally, there's the level of intrapersonal communication. This will be the communication you have with yourself. But this will mean all information processing, thinking, internalizing information, and the process of giving meaning to the world around us.
So inter and intra. Inter means between two entities or among several entities, like international. Intra means within, inside. So this is the conversation you have, or we have, with ourselves. We blame ourselves, we talk to ourselves, we encourage ourselves every day. And this is the communication you have with your classmates, parents, teachers, and so on. And this is the main topic and the main emphasis of a communication class at this level, how to be a good communicator. So the outline for today, it would be a little bit introduction about me and this class, and then I would like to mainly go to why we do presentation and the type of presentation and the characteristics of powerful. The purpose of this presentation today is for us to have an understanding of why this class or this topic, means presentation, is important and how it will benefit you in the long run. As for my introduction, you can always call me by my given first name, which is Masood, and the Chinese name is Masu. And my students, for the ease of the matter, because my last name is even longer than the first name, they call me Dr. M. And you can always contact me by this email if you have any questions. So a little short introduction about myself. I was born in a country called Iran. As you know, Iran is in Asia, in the Middle East, and they speak a language called Farsi or Persian, and it uses Arabic alphabet, but it's not Arabic, and it's written from right to left. So every of those pictures or shapes is a part of the alphabet. There are 28 alphabets in Arabic and 32 alphabet in Persian. 4 sounds that do not exist in Arabic are P, J, Ch, and G. All right, and this is the map of Iran, surrounded by very famous countries, always on the news for their trouble. Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iraq, Saudi Arabia here. The map I wanted to show you is because there seems to be no vegetation or no cities in here, because it's all desert. So 1/3 of Iran is all desert, and the rest we have 2 high mountains, one in this area and one in this area. So this area of Iran is very green and beautiful, just like Taiwan. But this area, the capital city Tehran, is very dry and usually have problem with water. So just a quick review, I moved to Spain after high school, and as you know, Spain is in Europe and they speak Spanish, and this is a map of Spain. Very interesting country and very interesting history. It has two neighbors, one is Portugal and one is France. All these three countries, at one time, they've been colonizing other countries in South America and Africa. Most of the French colonized Africa, and Spanish, they went to South America, and in search of Indians, they ended up in the United States. Also, the Portuguese, they went to other side of the ocean and they found Brazil. So Brazil speaks Portuguese. The other countries in South and Central America speak Spanish. Anyway, moving on, I lived in Spain and then I went to the United States in several different cities, looking to a place to study and then looking for a place to work. And then I've been in Taiwan for past many years. Okay, now let's take a look at why presentation is important. All right, so we were talking about why we need presentation. Let's take a look. There are some pieces of news I can share with you. Is that the first piece is that the bad news is that being able to communicate clearly with our colleagues, clients, parents, and friends is becoming more and more of a rare skill. It's difficult to find people with a good communication skill. And if you remember on the video I showed you at the beginning, if the communication becomes interrupted in the fact of those four elements, because of any of those four elements not in the place, then you're going to have miscommunication and misunderstanding. But the good news is that anyone can be a great presenter. Anybody can become a very good presenter. And this is not a talent. This is not something you're born with. This is something you work for it. And those of us, maybe with the different kind of a characteristic personality, are a little better at it or get it faster, just like any other skill. You know, if you want to be a swimmer, maybe for some people, a sport comes faster. They become a better swimmer or better basketball player. You want to play piano, some people can do it faster, some people take longer to practice. But anybody who's willing and wanting to learn piano, putting certain amount of time, given the right tools, can learn. All right. And public speaking, of course, is not something that anybody likes, and is more painful for most people than standing and going to the dentist. Standing in front of the audience is more painful than going to the dentist. So nobody said that public speaking is a very easy task or favored. And even some actors and actresses are having trouble to give a speech, even when they win an Oscar or they win some award. But my point is that it is possible. If you're willing to put time and effort, and you see the benefit of being a good presenter, a good communicator, I think it's worth the time. And like I said, it's going to be a skill that you would cherish for the rest of your life. So why am I now talking about presentation and not communication? Because communication and presentation is part of the communication. To me, presentation is a first step to a good communication, because everything is in your control. You have time to rehearse, you have time to pick the topic you like, you have time to pick the material you want to present, and you practice and practice and you come and deliver. Communication is a higher level of effort than presentation, because you never know what the other person is going to say. So you don't know in a communication, when you come to talk to someone, what they may say and how you have to respond, and how long does it take you to understand them, their accent, their grammar, and then you have to form an answer, you have to make it into correct English and respond. So all in all is a higher effort. It's much more effort than presentation. So we start with presentation because we are in control. And when you are preparing for the presentation, you will be developing two skills. One is verbal and one is non-verbal, which is part of any communication. In a communication process, this is what is happening, and these numbers are, so far in the past 20-some years I'm teaching this class, these percentages haven't changed. You can Google them. Verbal communication, in a communication, verbal part is only 7%. And then the non-verbal has two parts. One is your voice, your intonation. Non-verbal means nothing to do with the words. So whether you speak English, Chinese, or Turkish, it doesn't matter. How you say something and how you look when you say something actually is 93% of the whole deal. So again, it makes it easier for you to be a good presenter than to carry on a communication, a conversation, because you choose the words you want to say in the verbal part. And I am hoping that I can show you how to use your voice, intonation, and your body language in delivering your point. So I am hoping that this 93% I can help you to improve. That 7% needs more time, because to learn a language you need time, you need to learn the vocabulary, and this part, this 93%, can be more helpful to push and cover for that 7%. So if you say my English is not good, so I cannot be a good presenter, I'm going to tell you that's not true. And so in the verbal communication, which we call it, it could be like face-to-face conversation, phone conversation, meetings, email, and so on. But the non-verbal communication, like I said, is your words, is non-words. So pictures, facial expressions, body language, and such matters. So having a good non-verbal communication, working on your non-verbal communication, which is easier to achieve in a shorter time, is going to help your communication skill. Let's see if we have a funny video here to show you.
Our whole universe was in a hot, dense state that nearly 14 billion years ago expansion started. Wait.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sheldon Cooper. Welcome to Sheldon Cooper Presents Fun with Flags. My apologies that this episode is coming late. Now, Fun with Flags is not just for the flag aficionado. It's also for the flag novice. So to help me with that, please welcome my friend, neighbor, and flag virgin, yet not a real virgin. No, she's had coitus many times. Penny.
Hello.
So, Penny, I understand you would like to learn more about flags.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been at a party where everyone's talking about flags and I just couldn't join in.
Well, you came to the right place.
I'm sorry, can we just pause?
All right, so here is where Penny trying to teach Sheldon how to use his body language to be more closer to the audience.
Pause for a minute.
What's wrong?
I just think it might look more natural if you talk to me instead of the camera. You know, like a real conversation. It's something we work on in my acting class.
Interesting. A few people in the comments section have said that my delivery is robotic. Perhaps that isn't the compliment it sounds like.
Yeah, let's try it again. And maybe this time you could work on your body language a bit. You know, when you're all hunched like that, you're shutting the audience out. But when you're relaxed and open, you're inviting them in.
Right. And which one do I want?
Let's try open.
Our friend the Flag's taught me anything, it's to go where the wind takes you, as long as you remain firmly attached to a rigid pole. And action. So, Penny, what sort of flag questions keep you awake at night?
Well, I'm from Nebraska. So what can you tell me about the state flag?
Gosh, Penny. What'd you have for breakfast? A big glass of good question juice? The Nebraska state flag is simply the state seal on a field of blue. Spread your legs, invite them in.
All right. So we have to make sure that both our verbal and non-verbal go together. And again, remember, it's the words you say, how you say it, and how you look. All these three should be aligned with each other. Let me tell you about the type of presentations we have, such as informative, where you just come and teach the audience something. Another kind of presentation could be entertaining, meaning that you try to amuse, just like the TV shows, and maybe if you are the MC of some event and you rehearse to be funny or say some jokes. Anyway, that's another kind of presentation, much more difficult. Before we come to close, I'd like to introduce to you the very 5 basic elements of introduction of a presentation. So whenever you stand in front of the audience, you need to make sure that these 5 basic elements are given to your audience, no matter they know you or they don't. So you make it as a habit. The first thing, of course, you need to be nice, and you need to greet your audience and introduce yourself shortly. You need to give them the topic that you are going to talk about, and that topic usually is in your first slide. You need to state your purpose, and you need to give an outline, just like I did at the beginning of the introduction for this session. All right. So let me see if I have something to show you here.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Suzuki.
All right, so the basics is that first you introduce yourself, right? So here is the first introduction.
Today, I'd like to introduce my hometown, Portland, Oregon.
All right, so you greet your audience, right? You introduce yourself, and then you introduce your topic.
This information will help you decide if you want to visit Portland during your spring vacation.
And that's your purpose?
I've divided the information into 4 parts.
And this is your outline.
First, what's there to see? Second, what's there to do? Third, what's there to eat? And fourth, getting around the Portland area.
All right. So very basic part of any introduction when you come to stand in front of the audience. Okay. Like to close this session by letting you know that the most important characteristics of a powerful or effective presenter is enthusiasm. You need to be enthusiastic about your topic, about what you are going to be presenting to your audience. If you are not enthusiastic, if you do not look happy, if you do not look like you are here to teach us something, that shows in your body language, in that 93%, is going to show. It's going to show that you are not happy, you don't know what you're talking about, your intonation is off, and therefore you're going to lose your audience altogether. And so here I like to show you another fun video.
Well, my life used to be till I tapped the NPC to conduct such breaking. That's what y'all gonna do. That means y'all break through, cause y'all clearly touch. Bandmates, Chris Kirk is on the scene. The hot bases, the drums is calling her. Breakout, epidemics is the globe. Breaks out from every show, cause this you never heard.
Yes, so the catch is in the last part of this video. He is not thinking that he is 9 points behind. He is thinking that he is 1 point ahead. And you can see that enthusiasm in him from his body language. And this enthusiasm will transfer to us. So we don't know him. And this event probably was many, many years ago. But, you know, we have a good feeling about this person already, and we feel enthusiastic about him. Maybe we will cheer for him even though we don't know him. So enthusiasm creates enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is transferable. Your audience become enthusiastic because you are enthusiastic. If you deliver it with enthusiasm, if you put your effort, audience will catch that. Audience will pay more attention. Okay, so we will stop this introduction at this part, and then in the next part I will talk to you about the characteristics of a good presenter. And thank you for your attention.